My exact process for calculating ARVs and doing it quickly. Over the past 20 years, I've become incredibly fast and accurate when it comes to estimating how much a fix and flip property will be worth, how much I really can sell this property for once the rehab's actually done. And once you learn how to find deals, this is the step that becomes the bottleneck, because you really don't know if you've got a great deal or not unless you really know what it's gonna sell for once the work is done. So people take way too long to figure this out, or they don't spend enough time to get themselves out of a bad deal if they've gone under contract and shouldn't be. So today I am gonna show you my tried and true process in how to determine these ARVs. So the very first thing that I look at when I'm talking about ARVs is where am I at in the process? You see, if I'm gonna go and do some marketing or knock on some doors or make some phone calls or those types of things, I'm not that concerned if I have the absolute accurate ARV. What I want to do is arrange a realm of possibility. And so for that, I use what's called an AVM. It's an automated value management system. And basically what banks and credit unions will do on low risk loans is they will use an AVM to make a determination as to how much they think the property is actually worth. As a matter of fact, my mom is doing a refinance. She's getting a line of credit. They hit a button on the computer and it said the property is worth X. Now, that doesn't mean that's really what the property is worth, but it gives us an idea that there's some equity there because it can be off, but it's reliable enough that big banks are actually using it. Now, I don't use that to determine what I'm gonna resell it for. I use that to determine, should I spend time or money marketing? Is it worth spending 50 cents to send a postcard? Well, I say yes, as long as I feel like there's some equity. So let me show you exactly how I go about doing this. So let's talk a little bit about what these AVMs are. So I'm just gonna pick a random, let's just go Atlanta, Georgia. I'm just gonna pick a random place here. Let's just take this property. You know, I don't know anything about this property, but here you can see here, we've got the estimated value of $690,000, 784 bucks. That's an AVM. Last year's price was showing it was $612,000. So obviously you can see it goes up. The market we're in right now, that makes a lot of sense. So basically this is $690,000 and we think there's $419,000 of equity because they owe about $270,000. One of the cool things is I can come here and figure out how much. They got a loan in 2019. It was finance, arm's length transaction. Duncan Terrace was the seller. And the loan they got was for $399,000. There was a loan before that in 2007. So basically $399,000 is what they took out the loan for in 2013. Now, if they would have made on-time payments on that loan and not gotten into default, then they would owe $271,000 right now. Now, we're gonna assume they're not in default because they're not showing up as notice of default, which would show they're probably 90 days late. So there's about $419,000 worth of equity. So as we're determining the ARV, this is not what the property will sell for. I'm not relying on that, but I do know there's enough equity in here that it's worth spending 50 cents to send a postcard as long as I feel like he has some motivation. Now, I don't know which bucket he's in. These are vacant properties. Let's just go to vacant and show you kind of the same thing. So here's a vacant property, meaning nobody lives there. They have no mortgage on the property and there's about $146,000 of equity. Yeah, that's worth a phone call. That's worth sending a postcard. That's worth doing those things. And so my search result that I have here only has people that have equity. Otherwise, I am not interested in doing it. You can actually see my filtered results. I want to make sure they have 30% or more of equity. But again, this doesn't mean that's what the house is going to sell for. It means I should spend some money marketing to these guys. That's basically what that says, okay? So that's the first thing. Just for marketing purposes, the first thing that you're going to want to do is say, what does that AVM say? Is there equity based upon what's owed? That's called a reverse amortization. So we know there's equity there. We want to then combine that with motivation, because equity and motivation, which is why we look at vacant homes or out-of-state owners or involuntary liens, bankruptcy properties, non-owner occupied, pre-foreclosures, failed listings. Those are all things that we can look at. And if they have equity and motivation, those are people that we want to be contacting. That gets me to the point where I'm making an offer or talking to somebody. But then what I've got to do is I have to determine how much that property is really going to sell for. So to do that, the very first thing that I've got to do is understand the area. And this is where a lot of people get in trouble, is there's these natural barriers. I'm going to jump over the whiteboard here so you can see what I'm talking about here. So you're going to have these neighborhoods, okay? And you can go about a mile distance, 1 mile, is the furthest you really want to go when you're dealing with comparables. So if the house is right here, the ideal situation is to have a house across the street that just barely sold, that's the same bedrooms, bathroom square footage, and all that type of stuff. So what I'm doing is I'm starting as close as possible, and I'm slowly working my way out to find, and what I've got to do is I need 3 solds is what I'm looking for. 3 solds that are similar in the square footage, that are similar in the area, and I want to make sure they're no more than a year since they've sold. Now, again, the same thing, just like you want to work closest to furthest away, the same thing you want to do with how long. So I'm going to start at 3 months, and then I'm going to go to 6 months, and then I'm going to go to 9 months, then I'm going to go to 12 months. So the closer it is in geography and the closer that it is in how recently it's sold, the better data that I'm actually going to get for. Now, I don't stop there. The next thing that I'm looking for is I'm looking for 3 actives. 3 actives properties. So sold, meaning the property sold, arm's length transaction. Active means it's on the market. Now, when I do that, I want to take a look at all of the pictures and get an idea for what that property is really going to sell for. So this is my deep dive, and I can do this really quickly. So let's just take some random property. I know nothing about this property. I've never done values on it or anything like that. What I do is I come here to the comparables, and I have a pretty good idea what's going on. So here's my date range. This is going back a year. Let's just go back like 12 months. Or 6 months. Let's don't go back a full year. Let's just come, I don't know if that's exactly. And then this has the range. Our subject property here is 1125 square feet. And so I'm looking between 900 and 1300 square feet. I'm looking a half a mile right now is the radius that I'm looking for. And then I get my comparables that are just sitting right here. And I am looking at, this is just public records. I want to look at both MLS and public records when I'm doing this. So then I'm going to sort these, okay? I'm going to sort with the least expensive, and then I'm going to work my way to the most expensive. So this property sold for $59,000. This property sold for $288,000. Well, what's the difference in these? Well, I'm going to start with this and take a quick look at this property. I'm going to assume this property is in pretty bad condition. So let's just open this property up and get a really good idea. This is number 5 on the map. Let's get details on this. So if I come here to MLS details, popular style Cape Cod living, after removing present floor cabinets, partially original floor plan, half bath, furnace, sale, present owners will consider all reasonable offers as home has to be updated, okay? It does say FHA and VA is accepted, but I surely doubt that. So I know this property is in bad condition. This is what I should be buying the property for, but it's not what I'm going to be selling a property for. So then I come to this next one and say, what do we have here? Let's look at some details. Now this one doesn't have pictures. And so this was probably something that came off the public records, not the MLS. So I don't have any MLS data on this. So I don't have a really good feel for that. I'm just going to assume that that property is not in great condition either. I'm going to come look at this one that sold for $68,000 and get a good idea what that one's looking like. And I don't have any MLS data on that one too. This one looks like I do. So let's take a look at some pictures here. So basically what I'm doing is I am going through, and let's take a look. It's only got one picture on it. I'm looking at what this was a cash sale. So obviously if it was a cash sale, that's not a property that I want to be using as a comparable. So I keep sorting through. I'm going to just jump up a little bit here just for time's sake. Here's another property. What I'm trying to decide is I'm trying to find comparables that match what my property will look like once it's fixed up, okay? So this is what I want to look at. So this property, let's look at some pictures here. For sale, this is not a fixed up property. You can see here, this has old cabinets, this is not a fixed up property. So I'm going to keep going, right? So let's come down here just a little bit until I find 3 that are actually fixed up properties that are going to look like what my property is actually going to look like. Let's look at a few pictures here and see. It looks like we don't have good photos on that one. MLS details. Property has been remodeled in 2012 from top to bottom. So this one's not completely remodeled. Basement was not finished. Framing's been done. 2-car garage. Let's see, the square footage is 1,000 square feet. So it's a little smaller than the subject property. So not exactly what we're looking for here. Let's look at this one. And so basically what I'm doing is with the process of elimination here. And sometimes it's really, really fast and sometimes it takes a little longer. It really just comes down to how many comparables are actually there. MLS, lovely brick style home, a must see, plenty of space to create additional room in the basement. What I'm trying to do here is show you what this process looks like in looking at photos, trying to make determination and trying to make some discernment here as to beautiful home, 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, this is 1,200 square feet, new roof, new furnace, new boiler, new washer. See, now we're getting there, newly renovated. I wish I had pictures for this. This property ended up selling for $188,000 was the loan balance, and it looks like they sold it for $200,000 just a few months ago. So here we go. This is probably what I'm gonna get out of my property, somewhere around 200,000. You can see there's another one that sold for 200,000, another one that sold for 200,000. And so it looks like my low value on this is gonna be somewhere around $185,000, and my high value is gonna be somewhere around 200. This is 200, beautiful new home. Come check this out, everything looks great. My pictures just aren't showing up, unfortunately, on this. So this is another one that sold for 200,000. So I have a really good idea. This property's probably going to sell around $200,000, right? It's obviously better if I've got these pictures that I can look at. Now, you've got one property that sold for $288,000. Well, that doesn't mean yours is going to, because look, you've got all these at 200,000. You've got a couple at 185, and then the cliff just drops off where you're getting with investment type deals. So somewhere around $200,000 is what I'm going to think. I could do something to get a little bit deeper into that. But the next thing that I want to do is actually look at properties that are not sold. I want to look at properties that are for sale. So now I'm just saying what's currently on the market. Well, I've got properties from 149 to properties to 249. I can sort it this way, 249. Okay. So first thing I want to do is like, okay, this one's failed. This one's on the market. So my lowest property on the market is $139,000. Okay. So $139,000. What does this property look like? I am not sure what's going on with my images, but I like to get a good feel for that. 4-unit building on a corner lot. Okay, that is not a comparable for my single family house. So I'm just going to skip that one. And then I come here. This one's on the market for 189. And this one, MLS details, welcome, wonderful, gorgeous, sought after. East side dining room. House is currently set up as a 2-bedroom with great potential for a 3rd bedroom. And so then it's like, am I gonna have 4 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms? What is my bedrooms gonna look like? I have no idea why my pictures are having an issue here, but if they ever do, I can just take this and I can just Google it. And when I do Google it, I can find this property on Zillow or whatever the case is, and I can look at some pictures there. So they did a price reduction in 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. You can see here, this property looks pretty good shape. Let's see what else we can find here. I mean, that looks kind of old and that looks so. Yeah, this is more of an FHA condition. Now that looks pretty good though. I don't like the drop ceilings. So I would say this is pretty good, but not as good as what I would like to see for my property. And this one's currently for sale, what did we say, for $189,000, and they dropped the price. You know, that's interesting. So it really comes down to, they haven't sold this house at $189,000. Is my house better than that one? If my house is better than that one, then I probably can sell it for closer to that 200 we were thinking. If it's not better than that one, then I'm gonna get less than that. Here's the next one that I've got. This is for 215,000. See, active homes are your competition. It's what you're going to be selling against if your property was on the market today. So let's see what this one says. Beautiful story, 4 bedrooms, 1 full bathroom, a must see, really nice property. Let's see here. I'm just going to Google this one. I'm not sure why we're having issues with our with the pictures, but we'll get that fixed. Okay, so I'm looking at this 215, and let's start going through. Yeah, this does not look like a nice home to me. So I may be able to get more money than this one, depending upon the bedrooms and bathrooms of what I'm actually going to do. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at, is understanding what's currently on the market. So here's what this tells me. I'm probably going to get more than 200 looking at that property, depending upon bedrooms and bathrooms, what my finish is going to look like. Remember, I've never seen this house before, so I have no idea. I'm just trying to give you some ideas and some things to go off. So based upon bedrooms and bathrooms and square footage, you can then look at your solds, and you can then look at your actives, and then you can make a determination as to what this property is actually going to sell for. Now, a word of warning: if your active homes are lower priced than your sold homes, that means that the market is heading down. It's trending downward, meaning new stuff is coming for sale for less than what stuff sold for. It means you're in a downward market. Now, if active homes are more expensive than what your sold homes happen, it could be a rising market, or it could be that their properties have been sitting on the market for a long time and they're not going to get sold. They're going to have to do price reductions. So my rule of thumb is I take the lowest of the actives or the solds. So in this example, you saw that my actives were 215, 249, and 200, but my solds, I had 5 or 6 really solid solds at $200,000. So I'm going to bank this one somewhere around 200,000. Now, I really need to understand the property. I need to understand the bedrooms and bathrooms and what that's going to look like, but that gives you an idea on how you can very quickly, with not a lot of effort, make a determination as to what the property's worth. Another word of warning that I really want to talk about is the area. This is one of the things that a lot of people really mess up on, is they don't take into account the areas and natural boundaries. So let me come back over and show you a couple of things with some natural boundaries that you need to be aware of. I jumped over to Atlanta now, okay? One of the things that we can do when we find a property, let's just say like this is our subject property right here, number 43. One of the things that I can do is I can look at MLS, and I can look at what this property, this list price, MLS info, square footage, list price per square foot. Okay. Or I can just come here and just look at overall values, estimated values. Okay, so when I look at this is one of the things a lot of people get in trouble for, right? So this is my subject property. I'm looking for natural boundaries. So you can tell this is a different neighborhood, this is a different neighborhood. These are worth more money than these properties are, but you can also see this light blue is worth less. So you're gonna come into these areas where you're like, okay, there's some natural boundaries here. So where are those natural boundaries? Well, it looks like this side of the street is different, so this is probably a natural boundary. So even if I am a mile away or within a mile, I probably don't want to jump the tracks and go over there. You can see these are a little bit more expensive than these. So this is the type of stuff people get in trouble, is they go over a natural boundary. These natural boundaries can be roads. These natural boundaries can be streams. It's basically anywhere where the price changes. I'll give you a good example in my marketplace. There's something called 700 East. 700 East, if you're east of 700 East, for the exact same house that's west of 700 East, it's worth more money. Why? 700 East is just a busy street, and it's a different price bracket when you go east of 700 East, and you can clearly see that when you look at your heat maps. So those are the types of things you've got to take in consideration as you're trying to make determinations. Try and get those 3 solds, try and get those 3 actives, make sure you're picking a good comp, make sure you're starting with close and then working your way out. And with that, you take all of that and make the decision, and that's really the hypothesis of what you feel this property is really going to sell for. So I've put together a great video on how to quickly estimate the profit on your flips, so you can get a good idea of how much you'll be making, how to keep you from losing money on a deal, how much profit you should shoot for, most common hidden costs that you're probably forgetting about. So if you're interested, take a look at this video. You're really gonna like it and make it a very profitable day.